Hello, I'm Colleen Gallagher, CEO at OnWrd UpWrd, and you're listening to the Association Insights podcast, where each week we interview association leaders from across the country to hear how they're trying new things, taking big risks, and delivering value for their members. We'll explore the realities of what it means to work in and with associations and bring you the insights and inspiration you need to advance your career and make big changes at your association. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Association Insights podcast powered by OnWrd UpWrd. I'm your host, Colleen Gallagher, and I'm joined today by Meghan Henning, co-founder and senior PR strategist, and Christine Stay, our director of operations at ONU here. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. We're doing a rapid fire round based on real scenarios that we're seeing across a lot of associations right now. So instead of going deep on one topic, we're going to move quickly through a series of what would you do if situations, and then each of us will answer from our particular lens that we like to look at things through. So Megan's going to tackle it from the PR media perspective. I'll cover AI and visibility, and Christine is going to bring that operations, team culture, and execution side. Our goal is simple: give you some practical real-world ideas that you can actually use no matter your role. So let's get into it. Megan, Christine, thanks for doing this with me today.
I'm happy to be here.
Same here. Let's do it.
All right, first one. If an association has great ideas, great expertise, but no visibility, what would you do? Megan, kick us off.
I think I'd have to figure out, are you just sharing updates? Are you just mentioning that there's going to be a webinar or an event? Because you need to be telling stories, not just sharing updates.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think from an AI and visibility standpoint, I would say if you're not showing up in search, you really don't exist. And for a long time, that was Google. But now that also includes generative AI. So I would focus on creating consistent content, authoritative content. So think blogs, commentary, thought leadership, being on other people's podcasts, things like that, that can actually be indexed and pulled into those AI-driven answers that you see when you search things now.
Yeah.
And from the operations side, I was thinking also that there could be a lot of ambiguity on who owns what and who owns that visibility. Because a lot of times if no one owns it, it doesn't exist. It's just kind of noise and just there. So I think really it comes down to also owning that visibility, and also, is it a strategy problem versus an execution problem? Sometimes it's not even that you have the strategy down, but you also need to execute it and have that process in place.
Yeah, amen to that. I think at a lot of associations, that is a problem that you run into. And the other thing we hear from all of our clients and everyone in the association world is we have so much to do. We wear so many hats. So if a team is completely overwhelmed and they can't keep up, what are you telling them, Christine?
Really, when it comes down to is, your priorities. It's so easy. And this is also coming from someone with experience where I feel like I need to get everything done at once, at the same time. And if everything's important, then nothing is important. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it really is key to have that breakdown of what is top priority. Because sometimes the instinct is like, okay, well, we need to work harder, more hours, we need more people. But a lot of the times it's just like that root issue. So I would say, think about what actually matters right now. What are 2 to 3 things? And also giving your team the permission to not do things. That it's okay to put something on the back burner on your to-do list that might not be top of mind right now. I think it's important to tell your team that, to let them know that it's okay not to focus on everything at once.
Yeah, for sure. Megan, how about from the PR side?
I think, first of all, I feel like this hits home. Having worked in an association, it's very easy to become overwhelmed and feel like you can't keep up. But what Christine said, I think, is so true. I think instead of turning up everything, the spray and pray, like we're going to just put this everywhere and hope to God something is going to hit, is really such a way to bring you down. It rarely works. It would be so much better to just take a breath and look to see, are you targeting the right places? And wouldn't it be great to just have a mention in 2 places that really mean something to your leadership and to your members than trying to bounce something off the world, because it's just, this will keep you in a spiral of always feeling overwhelmed and never keeping up.
That's so accurate. And the point about being in places that matter for your members and your stakeholders, oh my gosh, I wish every association could embrace that, because that would take away so much of this overwhelm problem for the PR side for sure. Thinking of it from the AI perspective, I think this is where AI can be so incredibly helpful if you use it intentionally. If you're just like, hey, we're going to create all our educational content and our social content and our press releases, copy paste directly from ChatGPT and we're done. Of course, that's not going to work and it's going to be terrible. If you use it as a true strategic partner, if you really prompt it well, you can speed up drafts, you can repurpose content, you can summarize information. You don't want to replace your thinking. You've got to use your brain. You've got to have that human touch, but it can reduce workload. It shouldn't create more noise if you're doing it right. Switching gears a bit, everyone wants to be a thought leader, and we're seeing more and more members want to hear from the executive director or the CEO. They want to hear the person that's running the ship, not necessarily just the company page. So if a CEO wants to become a thought leader but has no time, because that's all association executive directors and CEOs, I think this is another key place where AI can really support, but again, not lead. So capture ideas, outline content, repurpose speaking points. The perspective does have to be real. So have you recorded speeches from your executive director? Put those in, get those transcripts, get their voice, train it on their voice so that the content does feel real and authentic. If it's generic, it won't land, but it could be really helpful and it could help save a ton of time on what you're trying to do.
That's such a great point, Colleen, because if you're doing that with AI, then it won't lead to the self-promotion content, which is the absolute worst. It will not help you. It is a detractor, I think. I think that when you want to have this thought leadership, what you want is, it's almost like an interview. If a reporter called and asked the CEO, hey, what do you think about this? And they gave their opinion. Well, now in thought leadership in LinkedIn, you don't need to wait for the reporter. Comment on it. Have a stance. I know you and I have said this 100 times. If you want to have a voice, you need to speak. So this is a great place to put it. And it doesn't always have to be on a daily basis, because I get it. They don't have time. They are very busy. So comment when it needs to be comment, and know when that is.
I love that point, Meghan, that it doesn't have to be every second of the executive director or CEO's time, because as we mentioned, they just don't have the time for that. So I think that's where it also comes to like, who is doing this? I mean, and sitting down and talking about that process, does the CEO and executive director want to do that? Or is it their marketing team, their PR team, their social media person? I think a lot of times there's too many hands in the bucket. And I think you really need to be like, okay, what's the process here? Who's doing what? And it's okay to have someone helping with the execution. The executive director and CEO does not need to be on LinkedIn 24/7. So I think it's okay to sit down and actually come up with, who is helping and the process for that.
Agreed.
Yeah, process makes all the difference for sure. Okay, next one. If an association has incredible member stories, which so many of them we know do, but they're not using them.
This hurts. This hurts my heart. I want everyone to know this is PR gold. Your member stories are human stories, and human stories are media interest. And it is a complete waste to not use this. At all times, I feel like, either the comms person or, the leadership, talk to the members, hear what they're going through. It's one thing for an association to say this is happening. It's another to have a member say this happened to me. And that becomes, it's just gold. It's PR gold. When I saw this topic, I cringed. I thought, oh no, you need to be using this. So yes, talk to your members and get your members' stories out there, because the media will be interested.
Yeah, and from a content perspective, this is the easiest way to scale. one story becomes a blog, social posts, videos, the media pitch you're talking about. And that's where AI can help you repurpose and extend and help you really build community. Because I've said this a bunch, but one of our very early podcasts, a guest came on and said, nobody tells a member story like a member. And that hit me so hard because I was like, that's it.
Yes.
That's the answer. And that makes such a difference. If you want to bring more people in, you need to tell the stories of people that look like them and act like them and have their roles. So I think it's just so important.
It is, and it showcases the value of membership at the end of the day, which is what you want to give to your not only your membership but also like prospects as well. So, I think the storytelling is really, really important. And from a process side, I think you also have to sit down and build a system to collect the stories. I think that if you're just saying, okay, well, when I talk to a member, I'll make sure to write that down. That never happens. You always forget that conversation. So, and there's different ways that you can use. I'm a big proponent on if you can make phone calls happen, phone calls, video calls. That way you get that one-on-one time with the member. They feel seen, they feel heard. And I think that's going to come out in their story. But there's other ways that you can do it too. Surveys are a little bit more impersonal, but sometimes that's an easier way to collect a lot of things at once. You might see something posted on LinkedIn or social media and you want to reach out to that member to be like, can you elaborate on this? So I think you really just need a system in place, because if you do it last minute, you're not going, a lot of times you collect all this information, but then nothing happens to it. And like what you were saying, Megan, that's what hurts the most is when even you have a process in place, you have to like make sure that you can utilize this also.
Yes. Yeah, I got to go the last mile and utilize it.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so this one, I can feel the pain. And I know it's so hard because, gosh, we got on this podcast day before we started recording. It's, did you see this, and this in the news? There's so much out there. But if nothing an association is doing is getting engagement, what are your thoughts?
So I think from a PR standpoint, we've all been there. This doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or whatever. What it does mean is you have to take a step back. You have to evaluate the content. Is it actually interesting? Is it relevant? And then you have to go back to, and I think this is something that you should be doing in associations, and it sounds easy, but it's hard. Are you thinking about the audience first? Is the audience your members? Is it policymakers? Is it potential members? Versus are you just focusing on the organization first? It is very easy to fall into this trap because their associations are doing more than most companies, right? There's so many things they're doing and they want to highlight them all. But I think if you could step back and say, am I focused on the right audience? Am I focusing, who is my audience? And am I just focused on our organization? And then I think if you realize that, oh, these things just seem like organization first, you could revamp that. And I think the engagement will come.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. It sounds easy at face value, but it's actually really hard. So taking that time to think it through, to ask those questions, are we thinking outside of what we need to do to check all the boxes and actually putting our audience first? I mean, yeah, that's huge. But then also, are you showing up where people are actually paying attention? That really matters. Are you saying something worth repeating? That's another big piece. I think with AI right now, it's creating and amplifying so much content, but also people are using it to filter out the generic stuff and just find what really matters for them and what they need to know about something. So if you're not putting out information that's very relevant to them, they're not going to engage because they might not even see it.
True.
And what you said, Colleen, about are you saying something worth repeating? I think that goes hand in hand with a lot of times it has to be worthy of repeating, but a lot of people forget that engagement requires repetition, that sometimes they'll throw something out like one or two times and be like, that didn't work, and move on to the next thing. And it's with this saturation in today's world, you do need that repetition because that will eventually get you engagement as long as it is worth repeating. But it is important to know that these things do take time.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I feel like this is getting better in a lot of associations, but is still a problem in many. When leadership doesn't see communications as strategic. Meghan, what do you do?
I think at first you don't have your feelings hurt, which is really hard not to have them hurt. But I think that you're a communications person and you need to tell people, why are you strategic? Why is this important? I remember we interviewed somebody on this podcast who said, if there is not a communications person at the C level, you will not succeed. And that, I think, is 100% true. I think that you need to, regardless of the level that you are, if you are a manager and you're the only person in communications, you need to be able to tie the outcomes to the media, to visibility and influence. And you need to tell your leadership why this is important. I agree with you that it's gotten better, but I think it's a constant struggle. You and I have spent, Colleen, our life joking about how communications, anybody could do it. And it's not true. And I think this is a place where you need to spend just a little bit of your own time getting your ducks in order to prove to leadership how important this is.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And not to beat a dead horse, but now visibility also means AI. And I know I keep saying that, but if your organization isn't showing up in search or in those AI generated responses, you're missing those opportunities. So again, use it as a strategic brainstorming partner when you're thinking about that comms plan and elevate things that way. That can help you be seen as driving business goals, not just the mouthpiece when anyone needs you.
And just to interject that, I believe that communication, it really ties everything internally, not just with the external world, because I think that the entire internal team needs to understand, what is the goal with our association? What are we trying to get out into the world? And I think that it first also touches base with everyone internally on your team understanding that from anything, not just the communications team, if there is one, but just everyone in general needs to know what the goal is. What are we doing here?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so our next topic is if a team wants to do AI but doesn't know where to start, which we're still hearing a lot of. I think being ingrained in AI and trying to use it every day and learn it and build it, sometimes we think more people are further along than they actually are. And when you talk to a broader audience, there are still a lot of people who are very new to it, very hesitant, very anxious about it, or some that just purely don't want to try it or don't want to get it at all. My advice is start small. Pick one use case that you feel comfortable with, whether it's meeting summaries or repurposing content or brainstorming pitch ideas, but practice that use case until you get good at it. And don't try and implement everything at once. We don't need 15 new AI tools, but when you do implement something, train your people on it. Don't just say, here's ChatGPT, good luck. That won't work. I would also say check out some of our episodes from our AI series we did last year where we asked association professionals, what are you doing with it at your association? We heard from small staffs. We heard from more mid-sized associations. They told us what they're doing, how it worked, and how it's helped them be better. And I think that's a really good place to start.
Yes. And as you both know, I was hesitant. I was one of those people. I thought, oh my gosh, really? I'm concerned about this. But I think that this works. I mean, a year into this and I love AI. I think that the main thing that we will always say to both our clients and I would say to anyone is put some guardrails in. You can't lose the human voice because when you put in something, sometimes you think, okay, well, that did sound like a robot. And we don't want to sound that way. We want to sound, we just talked about member stories and human stories. So we don't want to lose that. This is where we do come in very strong because we do know what sounds robotic and what doesn't. And I think also it's especially important in PR. I, at times, I will read a story that benefits one of our clients, and I can't figure out what would be the angle for the pitch that hasn't been covered yet. And I will put the article into AI and say, what's a different angle for this? And it will come up with it. And it's not as if I would never have been able to come up with it, but it could have taken 45 minutes for me to really think about it and find it, whereas it takes 30 seconds. And then I'm off and running. I can write the pitch. I can, reach out to the right spokespeople and move forward. So I definitely think it's important. It's important for people to get comfortable with and to utilize.
And when used correctly, like you were saying, Megan, it saves so much time. And, going back to the question about being overwhelmed, I mean, really, when you use it correctly, it can help so much with that overwhelming feeling because you're working a little bit quicker, but you're working a little bit smarter too. And I know, Colleen, you said about like, don't just, here's AI, just use it. And I think that is very important because I think that will add to some overwhelming feelings for people that aren't comfortable or not knowledgeable in it. So I think it's unfair to say to your staff, okay, we're using ChatGPT now, we're using Claude now, go for it. I think there has to be a process in place, some training, and there's so many tools out there that can like dumb it down, videos and webinars. And, Colleen had mentioned our podcast series, the AI. So there's a lot of tools out there that can help. But I do think it's good to reiterate, it's unfair to just throw it out to people.
Agreed.
Yeah. And on that note, I just want to plug a podcast I listen to all the time. It's called the Artificial Intelligence Show. And it's with Paul Retzer and Mike Caput. And if you want just one podcast that summarizes all of the AI news and what's going on and what's happening and what tools are doing what, that's the one to listen to every week. It's so good. They're so interesting. They really break it down and talk about where this is going, what can be done with it, and how to use it. And I swear by that, I never miss that one every week. So that's high on my list of recommendations there. We're going to switch gears again, though. And we've all been there since we all worked at associations, but you've got the board meeting coming up, or you've got a big event or something like that, and you just need some wins fast. Megan, what do you do?
I think you go to your existing relationships, right? This is where it's going to be really important to have those relationships in place because you're going to need to maybe not call in a favor because, you're doing your part of it, but having those relationships and looking for, I guess, timely opportunities to emphasize what is happening. I think that might be my first view of what to do. Yeah, I think it's just really, just going to the existing relationships. This is so important to have.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same with content. Repurpose existing content if you need some quick wins. You don't always need something new or new video or new this. Make what you have more visible, make it more impactful, tell a different story with it. And I think that can help you get some quick wins really fast.
And from the ops side, I think this goes back to what we were talking before about just focusing on 1 to 2 priorities and taking a step back from everything else and be like, okay, let's focus on 1 to 2 things, execute them well, and hopefully that gets us the fast win that we're looking for.
Yep. So somewhat similarly, but a little different, if a campaign is falling flat mid-launch, whether it's, PR campaign, member campaign, board engagement, whatever it is, what's the next step?
Well, first, I feel like we need to say that this has happened to everyone. This is, one of those things where you're trying something and it's not working. So, and this is, I think, where PR people are really good. We can pivot. You need to take a step, adjust the story, figure out what is a different angle maybe to tell exactly the same thing. Don't just turn up the volume. That will not work. You will have to adjust, I think, what you're doing, but you can do that. You can add something. You could add a member story, add something to this that will resonate in the middle of the campaign. It's not as if it has to be over or worse to continue the campaign while it's falling flat and to not adjust it. I think that would be worse. I think just you start to try, but thoughtfully and carefully, that you're not, again, this isn't where, oh my God, we're going to try everything because we're freaking out that the campaign isn't going well. It's just taking a moment, figuring out how you can make an adjustment and trying that and not being afraid, I think, to try it.
That's so true. And, I think there are very rare instances where you do have to be brave enough to step back and say, this was a bad idea. Let's stop. But I think in the vast majority of cases, it's repackage it. Think of a different angle, a different format, a different channel. It could be as simple as that, because sometimes it's not the idea, it's how it's being presented.
Yeah.
And from an operations side, I think about also just like sitting down, checking to see if there's any execution gaps and, is the plan actually being followed? One of the biggest things is, we internally use Monday.com, which is basically a project management platform. And I think that helps us realize, okay, this task is due on this day by this person. And you could take a look and be like, okay, this isn't checked done. What, is this not being followed? What are we doing differently? And I think that having that system in place also keeps everybody on track, because sometimes it's easy to kind of get bogged down by everything else. So, having a system in place, it doesn't have to be Monday.com, although I do love it, but just having something in place that you could actually track, are we following this plan?
Yeah. I still think you should be a Monday ambassador, but either way, any system that works for you is a good system. So
shout out to anybody that is listening from Monday.
Too funny. Okay, last one. If you had to pick one thing associations should focus on for the rest of 2026, what would it be?
I would say relationships with the media, relationships with your members. Yeah, relationships. Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, it's simple. Visibility, but with intention.
And mine would just be, clarity, just prioritizing, who's doing what, and, letting your team also be vocal about not being, that if they're overwhelmed, and gaining some clarity on that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this was a lot of fun. I loved learning from the two of you as always, and hearing your perspectives. But before we sign off, I'm going to make us do what we put all our guests through every week with the just for fun portion, so our audience can get to know us. And Christine came up with these questions for us for this year. So I'll let you kick off the first one, Christine. What's one small thing that brings you joy lately?
I will have to say the nice weather, at least here. I'm in New York, and it is bringing me joy every day that it's lighter and lighter at the end of the day, and that it's getting nicer. And I feel as though my seasonal depression is lifting. So I would say that is bringing me some joy.
Awesome. Megan, how about you?
I would agree with that. And then I would just add coffee. I really, really appreciate my morning cup of coffee. I really do.
That's too funny. So you guys know we moved, I think, a year and a half, 2 years ago to a new neighborhood. And I am loving that it's like an old school neighborhood and my daughter can run out and play with friends. And that's just like so crazy and like fun. And it's just like every time I see her look out the window and then scream her neighbor's name or the other one and like run out the door to find her. It's so fun and exciting, and it makes me really happy.
That's so nice.
All right. What are you currently obsessed with, Christine? It could be a book, show, hobby, idea. We all know, but tell our audience.
I know. And you know what? I have to laugh because there's one thing that I'm obsessed with, and everyone pretty much knows me, and it's Heated Rivalry. I am obsessed with it. For those who don't know, it was first a book, and they made that into a TV show, and it's just delightful and a love story, and it's talking about things that bring me joy. That brings me joy.
I love that so much, and you guys, I have zero time with the 5-year-old in the business and not being able to like watch the TV I want. So I have not seen any of it, but I still enjoy sending Christine all the memes I see on Threads just because I'm like, oh, she'll get this.
Yep.
Megan, how about you on this one?
I have read the book Strangers, a Memoir of Marriage. And it's so good. And I feel obsessed with, I have heard her on Oprah's podcast. I have read all of these articles. I just find it so, there are a range of emotions while reading it, but I love how in the end, this woman decided to tell her story, and it's sad and it's awful, and she didn't want to back down. And I feel like that gives a lot of people, both certainly in like that situation, the strength to do that, but even people like myself who is not in that situation. I just found her to be fascinating and so impressive.
Sounds very raw. I'm Googling it right now. I'm like, oh,
Yes,
okay, adding that to my
it's
list.
great.
I did the audio version, so it was fascinating to hear her like tell the story for sure. This is an ongoing obsession for me that is like kind of crazy. I still can't stop this, but I'm constantly like learning and being a total nerd. And I think I have 5 books right now that I'm either listening to or reading at the same time on like how to be better with AI, how to grow your business, how to do this. And it's such a problem that I realized my daughter went to a Scholastic book fair and picked out 2 books, and it was how to tie your shoes and how to tell time. And I was like, oh no, what am I doing to her?
The apple's not falling far from the tree.
You clearly need to read Heated Rivalry.
I also love that they have Scholastic book fair still. That like brings
I know.
such good memories for me.
Right? Yeah, I love it. Okay, ideal comfort food. Megan, why don't you kick us off?
It is my own chicken noodle soup, and I make a big vat of it and put it in the freezer. And on days when I just feel like I could use like a little boost, I pull it out, and that's what I have for my lunch.
Love it. Christine?
That sounds so good, especially like in the wintertime, I'm
Yes.
sure. For me, I'm going to say a food that I grew up eating, and it was like a quick meal that my mom would make. And either people are like, wow, that sounds interesting, or people are like, ew. And it is just pasta with a little butter, a ton of cold cottage cheese on the hot pasta, and black pepper. So I know it is delicious. I've converted a couple of people to it, and they're like, this is actually really good. But there's other people that are like, that sounds disgusting. But that reminds me of like my childhood, and every so often I'll make that to comfort myself.
That's a good memory though.
That's funny. This is crazy. I know I'm 42 years old, but I've never had cottage cheese in my life.
Me neither.
I don't even know what it tastes like.
Oh my gosh, I could eat scoops of cottage cheese just out of the container.
I just don't like what it looks
It
like.
just the look freaks me out. Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Christine, similar to you, mine is like a weird one that was like a childhood thing that now whenever I'm like not having a good day or just feeling like, oh, I need that, like memory. So it's scrambled eggs with a piece of American cheese melted and stirred into it. And then elbow macaronis with butter mixed together. And it's like delicious and just so, so good. And it is like memory filled, like when I'm eating it. So
honestly, I would try that. That sounds really good.
Me too. That sounds very good.
Yeah, that's one of my faves. Okay. Travel moment that makes you smile when you think about it. And Christine, I feel like this is gonna be hard for you because you're like our travel everywhere, been everywhere person. So can you pick just one?
I know it's so difficult. And I was racking my brain. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to go with the one that really just like jumps in my mind right away. And I would say that a few years ago, we went to Ireland. And for those who don't know, like my grandfather came over here when he was 26 years old from Ireland. And my husband and I traveled over there and went to the town that my grandfather grew up in. And I got to see the house that he grew up in, the church that he was baptized in. I got to go to the pub that he had his first pint in. And they were so kind there. They let me get behind the bar and pour a pint. And it just, I mean, I think I was crying the entire time. But what was even more special was I took all these photos, and then luckily he was with us until he was 101 years old. So I was able to go and show him pictures, and we were able to talk. And like, it was just a really beautiful travel moment for me.
That's so nice.
I love that. We should have made her go last.
Yeah. I mean, mine's going to sound idiotic now.
No, I want to hear everybody's.
What do you have, Megan?
I think like there are 2 things that I think about. 2 years ago, me and Rory and Sean and my mom went to Amsterdam, and it was so nice having my mom come and be with Rory. Like they shared a room, and they had so much fun, and they still talk about it. So when I see like photos pop up, it makes me smile every single time because they had so much fun, and it was really fun to just watch like them. It was great to be there, and I feel like we could have been anywhere and had that same experience because they are the best of friends, and it just makes me very happy.
Oh, I love that so much. That's awesome. I had a hard time narrowing it down to one, but one that more so than just smile makes me laugh really hard was when Ian and I were going to Italy for the second time, and it was just a crazy busy period at work. And I'm very much usually a type A planner, but I had just kind of quickly thrown together like what we're going to do. And there was a lot of things because I'm like, I don't I don't relax well, as you two know. So like there's lots to do. We need to see everything on this trip. And one of the things I booked was what I thought was like this touristy like cooking class in Italy with a bunch of people. And it said like up to 10 people. So I was like, okay, cool. That'll be fun. We'll learn how to make pasta with some people. Well, first off, we had to take the subway there, or the metro, whatever they call it, to the end of the line and then walk about a mile into this neighborhood in like, it was just a residential. We're just at somebody's house. The grandfather like opens the door, can't speak English. Later we found out he could. He just was waiting to get comfortable with us, but was only speaking Italian, and we had like very, very limited Italian. So we were able to say like, we're here for this. And I showed him the paper and, you know, come in. He welcomes us in. The family is so sweet. The mom is like starting to talk through what we're going to do. And like, it's still just the two of us. And now it's been like 30 minutes and we're like getting ready to cook the appetizer. And like, we're still looking around and it's like, what is happening? Like, where is everyone? And finally, Ian's like, I think you booked this just for us. I think it's a private like family that advertised this. So we're literally just at someone's house. More and more of their family shows up. Like, we're chatting. We're like having so much. We're not like, we're still like, it's like, this was before we were married. So like 10, 12, 13 years ago, friends with them on Instagram. Like, you know, they're pouring bottles of wine. They're like helping us during there. We know everything about each other's families. They drive us back to the metro train at the end of the night. And like, we're like the best of friends. And it was one of those things when we finally got out, like if we had known that's what we were happening, I don't think it would have been a big deal, but I just like fell on the ground laughing. I could not stop laughing because I was like, I had no idea this is what I booked. It was by far the coolest, most authentic, like best experience I ever could have had. But I was truly expecting like a restaurant filled with like, you know, the chef's hats and like aprons and like very touristy. So I will always laugh when I think of that memory.
That's what I love about traveling though, is just like those experiences and meeting people. So that I love that.
Me too.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you guys, thank you. This was so fun. For our audience, I hope this was helpful. You know, the scenarios we talked about are all real scenarios that we see every single day. I think if there's one takeaway, it's you don't need to do more. You need to do the right things better. So with that, thank you for joining us for this episode of Association Insights powered by OnWrd UpWrd, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode. The Association Insights podcast, previously known as the Association 100 podcast, is a production of OnWrd UpWrd Marketing and Communications, where our mission is to make associations and nonprofits the go-to source in their industries through earned media and thought leadership. This podcast is an extension of our newsletter, a bi-monthly collection of best practices, top trends, helpful ideas, and smart strategies delivered straight to your inbox. Have you undertaken a big change at your association? Or do you have some words of wisdom from the trenches of association life? We want to hear from you, and so do our listeners. Drop us a note at info@onwardupwrd.com. That's info@onwrdupwrd.com. Be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share with your friends and colleagues. We're available anywhere podcasts are found. Come back next week for more association insights and inspiration. Thanks for tuning in.